Hello, welcome to a new Sunday in my specific and precise project of rebuilding myself. As you might see, the entourage is a little bit different. I'm not at home. I'm enjoying some days outside of Alicante, and I use those days to keep the process going, even though I think when you're in holidays it's much harder. I try to make it easier, and for me, the easiest way to do it was to follow what my last video was about, and this week's research of what Ikigai is. And I did purchase this book, which I'm kind of proud as someone that's Spanish, because it was written by Hector Garcia and Frances Miralles. And I will put it in the comments. And I think that it was an interesting way of trying to get a first approach of what Ikigai is and how can I use it to better understand what my professional path should be. So I'm going to be critic, even though I'm not the best one in this position, but I'm going to tell you what worked well for me and what I think didn't match the expectations I got. First, I think that the book is really orientated in the way a specific city in Japan, which is where the oldest people are. They investigated exactly how those people lived, and in order to get their techniques, because they took the approach of someone living much more time as someone healthy, happy, etc. And I think that it was super interesting because you got things that nowadays I think young generations and young people and the ones that are not that younger know, which is that you should sleep well, that you should take care of what you are eating. For example, I learned something I didn't know about fasting, the fact that you shouldn't eat maybe 7 days a week because it can help you. I think that it was also something regarding being happy at the end. The fact that they call it Muay, but the theory of enjoying time and moments in community, meaning spending time with friends, family, etc., instead of living this solitary process of trying to change yourself, not getting too much into changes in your routine mentally. It helps a lot maintain the objectives you have, and more or less those will be the big lines about what I learned inside the book. What I didn't get totally, and maybe that was also because you cannot read only one book and then understand what Ikigai is. So I did some side research about how we know Ikigai in nowadays, and it's that theory that I will put on the comments concerning 4 circles that mix one with another, creating specific spaces, and the middle of that circle is what Ikigai will be. And it's a mix between what the world needs, that larger philosophical way of understanding that you are here to bring something to the world, to make it a better place. The second one is doing something that you love. Third will be something that you are good at, mentioning what I precisely talk in my second video about what will be the best debate between choosing something that you are good at or something that you love. And that was the point where Ikigai made a lot of sense, because it was not only a selection or a choice between 2 options, but it was a mix between 4. And the last one is what people or customers or whatever are willing to pay for. And this specific theory didn't came exactly from Japan. It was a TED talk from an American economist that they did less than 20 years ago, or around 10 years ago, that was recovered by writers, specialists, etc., to bring that image that we know as Ikigai today. But it's true that when you get into comments, whether it's in good reading or I had the opportunity to talk with a girl from Japan on Instagram, and she was telling me that for them, this is our Western way of understanding how life is. and how Ikigai works, but it works in our Western societies, and that's our approach. But for them, it's much simple and easier. So with that said, meaning those two main blocks, I try to deep dive again with my red notebook that I bring with me alongside every time I move. And one of the things I found, and I think that sometimes you need to admit to yourself the things when you already know them, instead of debating and debating and debating and making time eat time without getting the answers that you want. Once you already think that you got the answer, it's better to stick with that one and then give story, actions, etc., make you change or don't change your mind. So for me, and as I mentioned before, I think that I'm better suited to work in an environment where I build that environment myself, and that's what's called today entrepreneurship, and that's at least the form where I think my Ikigai should be created towards. I think it's really complicated to match something that goes along the line of something that you're good at, something that you have skills to do, something that you love, something that people will pay, and something that makes the world a little bit better. It could be the case, but this is my channel, not someone else's channel. So I think that is much harder to do and to get those that combination of four factors when you're working for an employer instead of working for yourself, because at the end you have no control of what you are building, and if something changes and maybe it's not that good for the world, then you're losing one step and you need to try to find it in another area that might not be your job, and then it might be hobbies. So one of the main debates I got in the past, and I think that I also have the decision right now about what the action should be, is it's better to start entrepreneurship and to start a company while you are working. The theory works super well and it's super logic, because at the end you have your salary and that will maintain your expenses, and you can take the rest of the time of the day, and I'm pronouncing rest a little bit louder because it's the sense that I want to give, and use the rest of the time to build the thing that you love. And what I was scared, at least I don't think that doing something on your free time can change from a hobby and become a real profession. And sometimes that's the moment when people say you should change, when the hobby starts making more money or working better than your actual job, and that's the moment where you should switch everything. It's true that the approach I'm trying to start, or I'm getting right now, is more about choosing something that I love, betting on it, and instead of only using or spending 3 or 4 hours per day, what I will be able to get if I was doing an 8-hour job, I'm spending more hours per day doing something that I love, even though I think it's harder economically. It's the bet that I'm taking, and I hope that it will work. At the end, the only person suffering right now it's me, because I will have to do some moves in my economies and adapt my life in order to need less to live. But I think that it will be worth it. It will be worth it at the end, because the fact that you are spending more hours on something that you love, I think that it will make me feel a little bit better, happier, that for sure. And from there be able to accelerate the process and be able to move faster. Not because velocity is important, but because I think that the faster you move on something you like, it changes, it improves, and you start liking it better. So I prefer to like something a lot than only liking it a little. So that will be the process I'm starting to do right now. So I'm using this notebook to list more or less the ideas that I think are great. And that's the other part of the video I want you to be keeping in your mind at the end of this one, is I tried using an approach which is choosing ideas that I have a note in my iPhone with 30 ideas from last year. I started rebuilding a new one now with AI, and it's true that there was a moment where I felt I could do almost everything quite well, but I didn't match or kind of pinpoint what really was the idea I wanted to be spending the rest of my years doing. And that will be the line of this reasoning that I'm going to put on the table, which is my only rule to choosing a profession right now is it must be an idea, a sector, a job, a profession, occupation, etc., that I should be able to be doing in 20 years. And if not, then it will mean that something is maybe not wrong with the idea, but wrong with how it's matching who I am. And that's kind of the guess that I'm willing to really pinpoint and keep digging on it, because I think that it will be the one that makes sense. And the start of my reasoning was the things that hurt me the most, because at the end I think that the fact that you don't feel the imposter syndrome because you are able to talk about something because you lived it, maybe because you felt it, maybe because it happened around you, I think that it gives you that extra push to find that autoritas that I was mentioning in my last video, meaning the authority of I'm allowing myself to talk about this subject because I feel that I can say something about it that is not completely wrong. And that was more or less the pages that I wrote this week, which were what things hurt me the most, what things that hurt me the most can be transformed into ideas, and from those ideas, what are the ones that I think that makes the more sense for me to be doing in the future. So I will be finishing this video with this specific thought. I don't think that I'm an ambassador, not yet, of what the best decisions are. I'm only sharing what I'm doing in my life and hoping that it will work, and we'll see. This is week 5 and we will still have 45 weeks to see if the result was really something logical and that at the end the decisions made sense, and you will see all the process, and that's the idea of these videos. But today that's the approach that I'm choosing. I'm going to bet on an idea that meant a lot for me. I will be able to tell you more in the next video and next week. And now the important part of the process is that I will be in need of maintaining 2 ways that at the end should be only one, which is how am I capable to keep improving myself personally, mentally, with the defects and good things that I have, while I'm developing this specific profession, which at the end is how are we built, who we are, and what we do for a living. And I think that that's the thing I need to make work, or I need to make work together and work well. So that will be at least how I'm going to focus this next week, using the red notebook, choosing the idea, developing the business side, telling you a little bit more, and doing kind of a building public while not transforming those videos into too much business, because at the end is the thing I like. So I will have to be talking about it, because if you're here, it's because you understand that maybe the person I am can tell you or can speak to you a little bit louder than someone else's videos. So that's what I will be keep doing. I will keep doing, meaning being me and trying to focus on that business part while developing the logic and the mentality of someone that wants to make the world a little bit better, and how am I able to do it while developing this new idea. So in any case, thanks a lot again for sticking here a new week with me, and talk really soon. See you next Sunday.